Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMAB Reviews, and today we are taking a look at the new album from Weezer titled, well, self-titled, but the Black Album. Let's get to it. Talk about hype. This album had so much hype behind it, at least pre-singles. There were so many people talking about it, and Weezer was saying that this was going to be a really dark and experimental album for them. And people were very excited. They were hoping it would be some kind of return to form, something different and interesting, which fans had been wanting for a while. And this had been teased fairly soon after the release of the White Album. We did end up getting Pacific Daydream back in 2017. And honestly, yeah, it's not a bad album. It's fine, and it does have its low moments, but it's not that awful. So people were looking forward to this album because they did get kind of a letdown with Pacific Daydream, but it was supposed to be kind of more of a throw-in album, just a little side album while they were working on the Black Album. So after years of working on the Black Album, well, what did we get? It really kind of just feels like Pacific Daydream Part 2, and I hate to say that because there are some decent tracks here, and I will say up front that this is probably the most different the band has gone. That's not to say the most experimental, or that it's really experimental at all, because none of this necessarily defines experimental, but it is different for their genre, for their sound. They did implement some new, interesting techniques on some of these songs, so it is different. We do have a very funky song that starts off the album with Can't Knock the Hustle, which was also the lead-off single. It is a different song, like I said, not experimental, and that's an important distinction because this album never hits experimentation levels. They just are having different genres that they're kind of throwing into the album, but it's really nothing new. And that's the problem, because a lot of these songs do just kind of sound like Pacific Daydream. We do have some songs that do stand out, but songs like Piece of Cake, that song sounds like it could have been stuck right in the middle of Pacific Daydream, and it would not have interrupted the flow of the album at all. It would have sounded perfectly at home there. And that is a problem because, as I said, Pacific Daydream was just an okay album. And with Part 2, it's not necessarily going to look good to just rehash on things that were already just okay. We do see Rivers really doubling down on his tough guy act, which is not an act that necessarily is wrong, because I do think that there's some satire in it. He knows that he's just a dorky dude. He has to know that, obviously, being Weezer. But he really is doubling down on that tough guy act. One, this album, it does have a lot more expletives, which is not necessarily a problem. It's just to say that he is trying to seem a little tougher. We've got, like I said, Can't Knock the Hustle, which is him saying that he works hard and he deserves to be recognized for it, and we do get little thrown in expletives to try to capitalize on his tough guy look. We do have other songs like I'm Just Being Honest, which is a song where someone gives him a CD of their band, and he tells them, well, he can't even get all the way through it because it's so bad. He also tells a significant other, assuming that this is not in the perspective of Rivers, I have to just assume it's a narrator, but because obviously Rivers is married at this time, regardless, he tells the significant other that he thinks they've looked better, and he really is just trying to push people's buttons on this album, not necessarily like the fans' buttons. But that being said, then we get a song which, because I tend to want to keep my content a little more family friendly, we'll just call it Zombies. You'll know this actual song I'm referring to, which is a track that actually is taking a page out of 21 Pilots' book, where they actually insult their fan base. And I don't think that it's any mean-spirited. I am a fan of Weezer. I didn't take any offense to this, but it's a valid song where they say that the fans of Weezer are always wanting them to do a certain thing while they want to do other things. And I understand that, but the thing is, I'm not afraid of the change. The change is not something that bothers me. The White Album sonically very different from their debut or Pinkerton, but I really liked it because it had really solid songwriting and really interesting dynamic songs. It was a really engaging album. Same for Ubate. But this album just doesn't have that. So that's why it is kind of funny, because yes, they're trying to turn the blame on the fans when, yes, I do understand that, and that there is some reality that fans need to be more accepting of the transition of sound, but it's not a good transition for Weezer. Weezer's not pulling it off. One highlight that does come in this album is, I'm Just Being Honest, a song I already mentioned, where he does insult people frequently. And while I don't totally love the narrative fact that the narrator in this song doesn't get what's due to him, because despite him being honest, the worst thing that happens is he doesn't get someone's phone number and he has to sleep on the couch. So he doesn't really have punishment or any kind of accountability for his actions, but it's fine. It's still a really good song, and instrumentally, this song is awesome. And I'm not going to really focus too much on the instrumentation on the sound, because overall it's pretty solid. I don't have any real instrumentation problems. It's not like any one member is lacking in any regards. They're all solid, and it's what you come to expect from Weezer. They do a good job. It's just not worth talking about, because unfortunately the lyrics are the main thing to talk about, plus just the musical style here. But yeah, I absolutely love that song, regardless of the fact that there's no real accountability. There's some other good highlights here. High as a Kite is just a catchy song, which does see them trying to transition back to some older sounds. And I know I'm going to be burned at the cross by Weezer fans, but California Snow is another real highlight here. Yeah, I get it. A lot of people don't like the song, and I totally see why. But when I listen to it, it's got a harder rock edge to it that I actually really do enjoy. It's something that I do appreciate. Yes, it's a little different, like I said, but it works, and it's something that I wish that I heard more of here. Because this would be a really good, if every song sounded like California Snow in some regards, then I think that this would be what they were talking about, a darker, more experimental album. Because yes, it may not connect with every fan, and I totally get why. But when I hear it, it's different. It's got a lot of their more grungier roots, of more of that alt-rock roots, not grunge. But it still has some new sounds, some new experimentation. And that is one thing that I can try to give some credit to for this album is, admittedly, there are some new musical motifs and things that they implement into this album. Not every song, obviously, but there are some new sounds, and I can appreciate that. While, like I said, it's not experimental, it's still different. It's them mixing up their sound, and hey, for a band that's as old as Weezer, they've not stuck to one sound. And that's something that, while a lot of people may not like, if every single album sounded exactly like the Blue Album and Pinkerton, yeah, we'd get bored of it. I mean, it's the truth. And so I do have to respect that they've been willing to transition their sound and try new things. One unfortunate song that I have to talk about is The Prince Who Wanted Everything, which is not awful, but it almost seems like it's supposed to be a tribute of sorts to Prince, but it kind of seems like a jab at him, because The Prince Who Wanted Everything, that sounds like someone who wasn't really that good of a person, and it just kind of seems like a jab at Prince, which it seems kind of out of left field, because I feel like this album's trying to pay respect to him. A lot of the lyrical context makes it seem like they're wanting to give respect, but word choices, like even the title, it just comes across as kind of a roast to Prince, and it's weird. I don't know why they chose to do it that way, but it's what we got. And that's about all I have to say about it. There are, like I said, there's about 3 really solid songs on here, and the rest are mediocre to bad. It just doesn't really connect, and unfortunately this is pretty word for word what I said about Pacific Daydream. There were some really solid songs on Pacific Daydream. I really do enjoy some of those tracks. And then there's a lot of mediocrity. And unfortunately, it just seems like that's what we got here. With this album that they were hyping up as this big experimental shift in sound. A lot of people were so excited for it, and it really was a letdown. It's not awful, like I said. It's a fine album, mediocre at best. It just is unfortunate that this album did not connect quite as well as I hoped it would. So 6 out of 10? That sounds about right. What did you guys think of this album? Please let me know down below. Also, is there anything I can do to improve the quality of my videos or any upcoming albums you'd like me to check out? I know my video upload schedule has been kind of spotty and I've just got a lot going on and I'm really trying to push stuff out. It's not that this is not a priority for me, it is, but putting out 2 or 3 reviews a week has just not been possible at the moment, and I do hope to get back to a place where I can. I'm working on my schedule, but combination of work and school, and I have multiple jobs, so it's just balancing everything. So we're working on it. But yeah, thank you guys so incredibly much for watching this video. I hope you guys are being patient with me. I really do appreciate it. I hope I can fix it soon. Besides that, thank you guys so incredibly much. And it really does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you guys later.